Start off in a comfortable sitting position on your mat. So when we sit, we usually cross with one leg over the other. So we're going to begin with right leg in front. And you can either stack one foot on top of the other, like so, or put one foot out in front of you. It doesn't really matter whichever feels most comfortable for you, but so that your right leg is in front. You're going to sit really tall through your spine and kind of bring your shoulder blades down and back towards each other. And then we're going to inhale, raising both hands up over your head, so that your lungs are full at the top, and then exhale, reaching your fingertips out to the sides, metering your breath until your lungs are empty and your fingertips touch the floor, and then pushing out all the air at the bottom. And then inhale, raising both hands back up, and sipping in a little bit of air at the top. And then exhale, long exhale, reaching your fingertips out to the sides until your lungs are empty, pushing out all the air at the bottom. Fully empty, fully empty, fully empty. One more time, inhale, raising both hands up. And then this time when we exhale, we're going to fold forward at the waist, down into an easy forward fold. So letting your hands rest on the ground and letting your forehead drop down towards the floor. And taking in a deep breath here and just kind of noticing where the air goes. Air go. And then we're going to walk both hands over to the right side, just about as far as feels good. So you feel that stretch kind of down in your left hip. Taking a deep breath and then long exhale over your right leg. And slowly walking both hands all the way over to the other side. Transitioning to the left, just about as far as feels good. Taking a deep breath and then long exhale to soften over your left leg. Whenever you're ready, we're going to slowly make your way all the way back to center. Walking your fingertips out just a hair further in front of you. And then coming all the way back up. Inhale, raising both hands up over your head. And then exhale, hands down by your sides. Cool, so now we're going to switch which leg is in front. So we're going to put your left foot in front and have your right leg be a little bit closer towards your bum. Again, whichever situation feels good, whether your feet are stacked or your leg is just out in front of you. Making yourself nice and comfy. And then inhale, raising both hands back up. We can do the same thing on the other side. So exhale, both hands out. Metering your breath until your lungs are empty. Fingers find the floor. Again, inhale, raising both hands back up. Sipping in a little bit of air at the top. Exhale, reaching both hands out until your lungs are empty. Fingers find the floor. And one more time, inhale, raising both hands up. And then exhale, folding over at the waist, down into an easy forward fold. And maybe you notice that one side is a little bit tighter or feels a little bit different than the other. So just kind of observing that difference in your hips. Taking in a deep breath and then long exhale and mentally saying, doesn't really matter, it's just interesting to observe. Yet again, slowly walking both hands over to the right side, just about as far as feels comfortable. Taking in a deep breath, long exhale. Then whenever you're ready, slowly walking both hands over to the left, just about as far as feels good. Taking in a deep breath, long exhale. Bringing both hands back towards center one last time. Maybe bringing your hands a little bit further out in front of you than they were the first time. And if you have any thoughts that are still nagging in your brain, you can just kind of drop them off down on the floor. And if they're really important, you can pick them up later. If not, you can leave them there and the yoga mat will absorb them. Using your hands, gently push yourself all the way back up. Inhale, raising both hands up over your head. Exhale, hands down by your sides. Well, we're going to transition onto your hands and knees. So spreading your fingertips wide. So your hands are directly underneath your shoulders. Knees are underneath your hips. We're going to come into cat and cow. So inhale to look up, dropping your belly down towards the floor. And then exhale, curving your chin towards your belly button. Trying to press your spine all the way up towards the ceiling. And moving at your own breath here, so I'm not going to give you the cues. But as long as you're inhaling as you look up, and then exhaling as you look down. And once you start linking movement with breath, all of a sudden you're doing yoga. Isn't that cool? So taking a few more passes up and down, just kind of feeling all the muscles along your spine start to warm up and loosen up. And then eventually we'll all meet in a nice neutral spine. So pressing your fingertips into the floor nice and strong, we're going to push your heart away from the ground. Tuck your belly button into your spine so you have a really strong core. We're going to reach your right arm out in front of you. Get your left heel straight back behind you. Take in a deep breath, and then on the exhale, connect elbow to knee under your body. Inhale to extend. Exhale to connect, elbow to knee under your body. Inhale to extend, pushing your heel away from you. One more time, making the connection under your body. One more time, extending out. And then coming back onto all fours. Take a second to resettle. Then reach your left arm out in front of you. Push your right heel straight back away from you. Taking in a deep breath. On the exhale, connect elbow to knee. Inhale to extend. Exhale to connect. Inhale to extend. One more time, making the connection under your body. One more time, extending out. And coming back onto all fours. Bringing your knees out to either side of the mat. We're going to bring your big toes together and rest your bum down on your heels, coming into child's pose. So walking your fingertips out in front of you, and then just gently pressing your hands into the mat to drive your bum down towards your heels. And then curling under your toes, we'll come into first downward dog of the day. Or if you've already done one today, then just first downward dog of the hour. So for the first downward dog, you can kind of pedal your heels, you can roll your shoulders, you can shake your head, you can kind of do whatever you need to do to just kind of take stock of the muscles in your legs. Feel the muscles in your back, your shoulders. We'll hold here for 2 more breaths. And then slowly walking your feet towards your hands. We'll all find ourselves into a nice, easy forward fold. Letting your head and your arms relax. And then bending at the knees to scoop your tailbone underneath you. We're going to curl 1 vertebrae at a time all the way up to standing. Inhale, raising both hands up over your head. And once your hands are up there, you're going to grab onto a giant golden orb of happiness. It's your big ball of joy. And we're going to squeeze onto it and then sink your shoulder blades down away from your ears. With your feet standing firm on the mat, we're going to reach that ball of joy over to one side of the room. Extend it like you want to share it with the world. Bring it back up to center and reach it over to the other side of the room, because the whole world needs a big golden orb of happiness. Bring it back up to the middle one last time. Open up your heart into the limitless possibilities that Wednesday has to offer, and your golden orb of joy disappears and we float back down into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, flattening your back. And then exhale, walking yourself out into your plank. And for first chaturanga, we'll lower down knees, chest and chin, keeping your elbows tight into your sides, coming all the way onto your belly. Keeping the tops of your feet pressing into the floor, we're going to raise your heart up off the mat. Draw your shoulder blades down your spine towards your bum. And then we're going to push off your hands and knees, coming all the way back into your child's pose. Again, stretching out all the muscles through your back and your lats, down into your hips. And then curling under your toes to come into your downward facing dog. I'm going to hold here for 5 breaths total. Inhaling fully and exhaling completely. Keep your head loose and relaxed. You can take the gaze to some point on the wall in between your legs behind you. Two more breaths here. And then on the exhale, looking in between your hands, walk or jump forwards, back into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, flattening your back. Exhale, fold down a little bit deeper. And then inhale, coming all the way to standing, raising both hands up over your head. Grabbing onto your big ball of happiness. Right? And this ball can be whatever color you want today. So it's no longer golden, it's whatever color you feel. You're going to extend it towards one side of the room, reaching out. Extend it towards the other side of the room. Come back up towards the middle, opening up your heart into a gentle back bend. And then exhale to fold down over into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen out through your spine, flattening your back. And then exhale to walk yourself out into your plank. And you can either keep knees, chest, chin for your chaturanga, or take full high to low push-up, whatever feels right for you. You can stick with baby cobra or come all the way into upward facing dog. And then curl over your toes into downward facing dog. Again, we hold here for 5 breaths total. And as we hold this third downward dog, start to feel the muscles in your shoulders warming up. Maybe the muscles in your hamstrings, your calves are starting to loosen up. We'll hold here for 2 more breaths. And then looking in between your hands, stepping forward with your left foot, followed by your right. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, flattening your back. Exhale, fold down a little bit deeper. And then inhale, coming all the way to standing, raising both hands up. And exhale, hands down by your sides. Beautiful. Inhaling, both hands up. And then exhale to fold down into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, flattening your back. Exhale out into your plank and chaturanga, whichever type of chaturanga you prefer. Inhale into your upward dog, pulling your heart forwards and your shoulder blades back together. And then curl over your toes into your downward dog. From here, we're going to raise your right heel all the way up behind you. And then open up at the hips to try to drop your right heel down towards your bum. So you get a little twist, you can roll your right ankle, you can wiggle your right toes. And then stepping your right foot through in between your hands for a low lunge, pausing there for runner's stretch. Giving a little rock front and back to open up that left hip flexor. Then dropping your back heel down to the mat at about a 45-degree angle. You're going to lengthen through your spine and then float all the way up into your warrior one. So pressing the outside edge of your back foot into the mat, and then driving your right knee forwards. And think about kind of pulling your right hip back and your left hip forward. So imagine you had like headlights on your hips and you're driving straight ahead and you want to see where you're going. Good, 2 more breaths here. Reaching those pinkies high up and pulling your heart forwards in between your shoulder blades. And then opening up into your warrior two, reaching both hands out in either direction. And adjusting your stance a little bit so the heel of your front foot is in line with the arch of your back foot. And then driving that right knee forwards just a hair deeper and pressing the outside edge of your back foot into the mat so your glutes are still engaged. You're kind of like scooping your tailbone forwards. Nice. From here, we're going to drop your back hand to your back leg, reaching your top arm over your head behind you, all the while still keeping your front knee bent. 2 breaths here. Then on the exhale, we'll transition, bring your right elbow to your right knee, reaching your left arm up towards the ceiling and then all the way forward so your biceps in line with your ears. And then roll your left shoulder blade over the right so your heart gets to look up towards the ceiling. Good. Keeping that top arm really strong so your fingertips are still reaching forwards. You're going to take the gaze down towards the floor. And all of a sudden, your golden orb of happiness pops into existence and it's right in front of you. So reach the bottom arm out and grab onto it. So you're holding it out in front of you, and then we're going to squeeze from the obliques to come all the way up and back. We'll pass that golden orb of joy forwards just as far as you can, extending it out. One more time, up and back. And then cartwheel both hands down, either side of your front foot. Walk yourself out into your plank and chaturanga, whichever form of chaturanga feels good for you. Inhale into your upward dog, and then exhale into your downward dog. And pausing for a moment there just to kind of feel the difference from one side to the other that the warrior sequence does. Maybe feel a bit more length or warmth or something. And just observing that difference. Raising your left foot all the way up behind you, and then rolling open at the hips. Drop your left heel down towards the crown of your head. And then stepping that left foot through in between your hands and pausing there at the low lunge for a moment. Giving a little rock front and back to open up your right hip flexor. Then dropping your back heel down to the ground at about a 45-degree angle. You're going to lengthen through your spine and then float all the way up into your warrior one. Taking your time to get there. And same thing as the other side. So kind of like pulling your right hip forwards and your left hip back. So your hips are square off to the front of the mat. And then driving that front knee forwards and keeping your back leg as strong and as straight as possible. Two more breaths here. And then opening up into your warrior two, reaching both hands out in either direction, and adjusting your stance so the heel of your front foot is in line with the arch of your back foot, taking the gaze over your front hand and then driving that front knee forwards just a little bit deeper. Think about as you inhale, your spine gets a little bit taller. As you exhale, you reach your fingertips out a little bit further to create that space in between your shoulder blades. You can drop your back hand down towards your back leg, reaching your top arm over your head behind you, and then driving that left knee forwards. So we're getting that good stretch all the way through your left rib cage, down into your left hip, through your left shoulder. And then on an exhale, we'll bring your left elbow to your left knee, reaching your right arm up towards the ceiling and then over your head towards the front of the rim. And then rolling your right shoulder blade over left so your heart gets to look up towards the ceiling. Taking your gaze down towards the floor. We're going to reach that bottom arm out and grab onto your giant golden orb of happiness again. Extend it up to the ceiling and towards the back of the ring. Reaching it forwards towards the front of the rim, as far forwards as you can. One more time up into the back of the rim. And then cartwheeling both hands down, either side of your front foot. Walk yourself out into your plank and chaturanga. High to low push-up. Keep your elbows tight into your sides. Inhale into your upward dog. And exhale into your downward dog. Looking in between your hands, walk or jump forwards, back into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, flattening your back. Exhale, fold down a little bit deeper. And then inhale, coming all the way to standing, raising both hands up over your head. And exhale, hands down by your sides. So letting your hands rest on your hips until you can find those hip bones right in the front. From here, we're going to step your right foot back about 2 feet with a good space in between your legs and squaring off your hips towards the front of the room. So pulling your right hip forwards and left hip back. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, making your body as tall as you can. And then exhale, hinging forward at the waist to come into intense leg stretch. So you're trying to extend the crown of your head towards the front of the room, making your back as flat as can be and coming down as deep as you can. And once you can't go down anymore with your back straight, you can release your hands, curl over your spine, and come down to let your forehead rest, ideally, on your left knee. Let's all take in a deep breath with a noisy exhale. Just let your head and arms hang heavy. Hold here for 2 more long, slow, deep breaths. And slowly transitioning all the way into your front foot, walking your fingertips forwards, letting your back heel float up to the ceiling as high as you can for needle pose, and try to kiss your left kneecap. So your right heel is pushing up as high as you can, legs as straight as can be, all the while still breathing deep. And then slowly lowering down your right foot behind the left so your pinky toes are touching. From here, we're going to inhale, lengthen through your spine, flattening your back, and then exhale down into your sciatic stretch. Just let your head and arms hang heavy, but use the support of the floor or your legs or a block so you can kind of meter the stretch. So you want to find a stretch where you're feeling something good, but it shouldn't hurt. From here, we're going to slide your hands up your legs, interlace your fingers behind your back, and pull your knuckles up to the ceiling and then over your head towards the front of the room. And leading with the heart, we're going to float all the way back up to standing, pulling your knuckles down to the ground behind you. If you have any sparkles in your vision, you can let them pass. And we'll release your hands. And we're going to bring your right leg up into tree pose. So tree pose can be either right heel on your left ankle, toe on the floor, arch of your foot on your calf with your knee out to the side, or heel all the way up into your inner thigh. The only place where you don't want to put your right foot is directly on the side of your knee. Once you find your position, bring your hands into a prayer in front of your heart and focus your gaze on your drishti, that thing that doesn't move. So you inhale, make your spine a little bit taller. As you exhale, tuck your belly button in towards your spine and up towards your heart. So you kind of hollow out your belly. Good. Opening up the branches of your tree and sinking your shoulder blades down away from your ears. And then from here we'll transition into Warrior 3. So pushing your right heel straight back behind you and folding over at the waist. Reaching both arms out and pushing that right heel like you're standing on the wall behind you. Whenever you're ready to come out of it, squeeze from the hamstring to come all the way back up to standing. And hands and feet come back down towards the mat. Take a second to pedal out your feet. Do a little dance. You can swish your hips. You can shake your head. You're all muted, so you can scream if you want to, but don't scare your neighbors. And then we're going to find your hip bones. Stepping your left foot back about 2 feet. Prepare for intense leg stretch on the other side. So squaring off your hips towards the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, drawing your elbows back towards each other. And then exhale to fold, maintaining that length as you come all the way down, extending the crown of your head towards the front of the room. And once you can't go down any further, you're like, all right, this is as far as I'm going to go. You can curl your spine, release your hands to find either your leg or the floor. If you have a yoga block, that's awesome. You can use that. And then just let your head hang down heavy here. And we'll take the next few breaths to kind of settle into the pose. So let's all take in a deep breath with an raise the exhale. I'm just kind of noticing how that noise, that big exhale, lets you come to the stretch just a little bit deeper. We'll stay here for about 3 more breaths. And then slowly transitioning all the weight into your front foot, walking your fingertips forwards, letting your back heel float up to the ceiling just as high as you can. So your left heel's trying to touch the clouds, and your lips are trying to touch your right knee. Thank you, knee. So raising that left leg up just a little bit higher, keeping that left leg just a little bit straighter. And then slowly lowering down, left foot behind the right so your pinky toes are touching. Take a moment to resettle. Inhale, lengthen through your spine. And then exhale to fold down into your sciatic stretch. And slowly sliding your hands up your legs. You're going to interlace your fingers behind your back, pulling your knuckles up to the ceiling and then over your head towards the front of the room to open up your shoulder girdle. And then leading with the heart to float all the way up to standing, pulling your knuckles down to the floor behind you. Again, if you got sparkles in your vision, that's kind of cool, but we'll wait for them to pass. You can release your hands, and then we'll draw your left leg up into tree pose. So again, finding whichever variation of tree works for you, whether it's toe on the floor, arch of your foot on your calf, or all the way up into your inner thigh. It's kind of your position, it's your thing. Once you find your position, we're going to push that right leg into the ground so your right leg is really strong. Bring your hands into a prayer in front of your heart and focus on your drishti. Opening up the branches of your tree, sinking your shoulder blades down away from your ears. And then from here we'll transition into Warrior 3. So pushing your left heel straight back behind you and folding over at the waist. Reaching your fingertips out in front of you. Your back foot's flexed like you're standing on the wall. And then whenever you're ready to come out of it, squeeze from the hamstring to come back up to standing. And hands and feet come all the way back down towards the ground. Cool. Take a second to pedal out, do a little shimmy, loosen up your hips. And we'll come back to standing front and center on your mat. Inhale, raising both hands up over your head. Exhale to fold down into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen out through your spine, flattening your back. And then exhale to walk yourself out into your plank and pausing at the high plank. So from the high plank, we're just going to roll over your toes to send your butt straight up to the ceiling into your downward facing dog. Raising your right heel all the way up behind you. We're going to float your right knee to your right elbow, hovering above the ground for a moment. Send it straight back up behind you. Bring your right knee to your left elbow, crossing under your midline. Send it straight back up behind you. Bring your right knee to your nose. Try and kiss your kneecap. Send it straight back up behind you. And then folding your right leg through into pigeon pose. So pigeon pose is right knee's kind of behind your right wrist. Right ankle's kind of behind your left wrist, and then we're going to wiggle your left foot back so it's more or less center on the mat. Once you find your position here, we're going to inhale, lengthen through your spine, and then exhale to walk yourself down to let your forehead rest on either the mat, or you can stack your hands, rest like that. If you have a big fluffy pillow, you can rest on that. We'll take the next few moments here just to inhale fully, exhale completely, and just try and let your body be as heavy as can be, resting on the floor. Whenever you're ready to come out of it, you're going to slowly walk yourself back up. Pausing for a moment at the top. Take a look over one shoulder so you can see the world behind you. Gentle spinal twist. Take a look over the other shoulder. See what's going on back there. Coast is clear, so we'll come all the way back into your downward facing dog. Curling under your back toes, taking your time to come back into your down dog. Put on one heel after the other, just kind of feel the difference from one side to the next after doing that little pigeon sequence. And then raising your left heel all the way up behind you. Floating your left knee to your left elbow, trying to make the connection. Send it straight back up behind you. Your left knee to your right elbow, crossing under your midline. Send it straight back up behind you. Bring your knee to your nose. Try and kiss your kneecap. Straight back up behind you. And then folding all the way through into pigeon pose. So left knee's kind of behind your left wrist. Left ankle's kind of behind your right wrist. And then wiggling your right foot back. Just making sure it's kind of center on the mat, just so it's not straight out to the side. Once you find your position, inhale, lengthen through your spine. So you're creating that as tall as you can. And then walking yourself down to let your forehead rest on either stacked hands or the floor. And we'll take the next few breaths to inhale fully, exhale completely. And as you exhale, just try and let your body be as heavy as it can be on the floor. If you have any muscles that are providing resistance, see if you can identify what the muscle is in your mind and visualize it releasing with each exhaling breath. Take a few more breaths. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to slowly make your way all the way back up. Pausing for a moment at the top. Take a look over one shoulder, gentle spinal twist. Take a look over the other. And then rolling over onto your left bum cheek and bringing your right leg straight around in front of you. Moving the muscle out of the way until you can find those sits bones firmly on the ground. You're going to push your heels straight out in front of you and the backs of your knees down into the floor. Making your back nice and straight. Inhale, raising both hands up over your head. And then exhale to fold, to grab onto your feet and let your forehead drop down towards your knees. And if you're like, Nolan, that sounds like a great idea, can't quite reach my feet, it's okay. You can tuck your hands underneath your calves and pull your heart forwards, and then let your forehead drop down towards your knees. We'll stay here for 3 more long, slow, deep breaths. That taking in that deep inhale, and then on the exhale, you let yourself come down a little bit deeper into the pose. Reaching both hands out in front of you, floating all the way back up. And then exhale, hands down by your sides. Cool. Gonna make your way onto your back, laying flat on your back. I'm just gonna turn my mat a little bit so you guys can see me sideways. Great. So resting on your back, we're gonna bend your knees until you can find your heels with your fingertips. So your heels are in line with your hips, and your knees are in line with your hips and your heels, so everything is nice and straight. We're going to press off your feet to raise your hips up off the floor. And then if you have a block or a pillow, you can put it underneath your back for a little bit of sacral release. Now we're going to interlace your fingers and try and walk your elbows and your triceps towards each other. So kind of stack your whole body up off the floor. And raising your bum off the mat so you feel that stretch almost in the front of your legs. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. Trying to pull your pinkies towards your heels, so arms are active and engaged. And your legs are still in line with your hips. Slowly lowering down, releasing your arms. And hugging both knees into your chest, giving yourself a nice little rock side to side. From here, we're going to straighten out your right leg along the floor, pushing your right heel away from you. And with your right hand, we're going to pull your left knee across your body and reach your left arm out to the side for a trunk rotation, a spinal twist. So just taking in nice deep breaths and full exhales, and just trying to let your leg and your arm be as heavy as can be. Stay here for about 2 more long, slow, deep breaths. And slowly making your way onto your back, hugging both knees back into your chest. Pausing for a moment, give a little rock side to side. And straightening out your left leg along the floor. And with your left hand, pulling your right knee across your body. And reaching your right arm out to the side. Again, just trying to let your arm and your leg be heavy here. And using the exhaling breath to just kind of soften from the muscles in your face to the muscles in your arms, legs. Whenever you're ready, you're going to slowly make your way onto your back again, hugging both knees into your chest. And then tucking your forehead up into your knees, making your body like a little itty bitty seed. And then straightening out your legs and arms into your Shavasana pose. So letting your feet splay out open to the sides and your palms face the ceiling. And take the next few moments to rest in stillness and silence. And it's in this time that you get the full benefit of your yoga practice, of simply trying to observe your body in a state of rest.